Hi guys, it's Andrea Blythe. How are you doing? Yeah, so in the month of April, I doubled the amount of books that I finished reading. Pretty awesome, right? So that means I finished 2 books. That's right, 2 books. Because in March, I only finished 1. So now I've finished 2. It's an improvement. I have started other books. I'm currently finishing up a reread of Dune by Frank Herbert, which I will do a whole video just on itself because I love it so much. And I have several other books that I started in previous months and I've slowly been finishing. So in March, I was struggling a little bit with my reading, just having a hard time focusing on the book. And part of the reason was I was reading a book that was a little too intellectually heavy for me. And all my ability to focus and read improved as soon as I put down that book and allowed myself to pick up a different book that would be a little lighter. The book I picked up was Shudder by Courtney Alameda. This is a super fun YA horror novel. It is about teenagers fighting ghosts and other monsters and basically the things that go bump in the night. So the main character is Micheline? Probably Micheline. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce her name. It's one of those unusual YA protagonist names. But she is a descendant of Van Helsing, who fought Dracula. And she is the heir to the Van Helsing Corporation, I guess. Basically, there's this whole complex that is run by the Van Helsings and other major families who have battled monsters in the past. A community that is out in the open. It's not a secret that there are monsters in the world. People are fully aware that there are monsters in the world and ghosts and that sort of thing. So they work with the government to basically battle these things. Micheline is a student of part of this community. In addition to being the heir, she is at an age where she and a small team of fellow students who are also her friends are able to go out and battle monsters. They use knives and guns and a specially rigged camera to destroy these monsters, and the camera is specifically used to exorcise ghosts and make them go away. They are out on a hunt and they break the rules. They go into a hunt that's too dangerous for them, and they quickly learn that they have bitten off way more than they can chew, and that the ghost that they're fighting is something new and has a whole new set of capabilities. They try their hardest. They pull out all their best techniques, but it's just too much for them. And the end result is that she and her teammates are all cursed with soul chains, and they have a certain amount of days before the soul chains will basically consume them entirely, and they will die and become an undead creature in and of themselves. She's also in terrible trouble with her father, who is not very happy that she broke the rules and started this situation to begin with. What follows from there is that these teenagers break out of the confinement that the adults have put them in, supposedly to protect them, and they go seeking the source of this ghost and why it has such powers and try to defeat it on their own. And it is just a super fun page-turnery storyline. It has some fantastic, terrifying moments with legitimately scary consequences. It has some great action sequences. It has some interesting relationships between the main characters. And it has a YA romance because, of course, the romance is between Micheline and her friend Ryder, who is also part of her crew. I really enjoyed this romance. I appreciate the fact that it's built out of years of their relationship. They grew up together as kids. They've worked together. They have a sense of mutual respect and affection that has built up over the years. They know each other very well and very intimately. And how they create the conflict in terms of why they're not together is the fact that her father is very strict and would never allow the relationship. And so they stay friends, but everything blossoms during the course of this life and death scenario. I really enjoyed this book. It's exactly the kind of fun, fast-paced horror story that I needed right now. It was a great read. The second book I finished this month is Sealed by Naomi Booth. It is set in Australia, and there is a pandemic that is starting to happen across the world, and there's hints of it in the media, but there's also potentially a government cover-up. I would never have thought that a book about a pandemic, when we're in the current situation we are right now, would be the kind of thing I'd want to read, and yet I found this incredibly enjoyable. One of the things I particularly liked about this book was the fact that it's a combination of a psychological thriller and a body horror novel. The main character is Alice. It's all entirely from her point of view. She has a boyfriend named Pete, and she is heavily pregnant. She has been obsessed about tracking down news and information and evidence about this disease, to the point that it has gotten her in trouble at her government job, and she has been threatened with being fired because she's pregnant. Her boss was like, look, just go take a vacation, say it's due to your pregnancy, that way you don't get in trouble. So her and her boyfriend go out into this rural countryside to supposedly escape to where it's cleaner and less potential threat of this pandemic, which is in and of itself a fascinating pandemic. It is the heart of body horror, where the body turns against itself. Essentially, the pandemic is such that the skin starts sealing over every orifice. So the mouth, nose, eyes, ears, other parts, all of the places it will start to cover up. That's part of the body horror aspect of it. The other part of the body horror aspect of it is the fact that her being pregnant and having mixed feelings about the pregnancy and not sure how she feels about it, and dealing with the fact that there is this other creature living inside of her, a baby, and it moves and it feels strange and it feels alien and unusual to her. So she's not entirely comfortable with it. And it ties in interestingly with this pandemic that is also about what lies under the skin and how the skin can betray you. So that's a really fascinating combination. And then on top of that is the psychological thriller aspect of it. So like I said, she's been obsessed about this pandemic and has been worried and gathering evidence, very concerned about germs and health and keeping clean in that regard, understandably so. And when they move to this rural town, which is supposed to be safer and cleaner, she starts seeing signs that the pandemic has reached here. One of the annoying things about this book, but in a good way, is that I absolutely despised her boyfriend Pete, because she would come to him with this evidence of things that are going on in the town, things that she had witnessed, and he would just be like, it's all in your head. Basically gaslighted her the whole time. I was like, dude, you need to leave him. Clearly, he is not good for you. Clearly, he is undermining your self-confidence and your ability to trust your own senses. Also, it was somewhat clear that she might not be in love with him. But anyways, it's Alice is in this rural town. She's living with her boyfriend. She's trying to figure things out. She's very scared about what's going on in the world. There's also some environmental pollution aspects to this storyline. It's very intricate and complex and very much in her own head. So very based around her as a character and who she is. There's not many like big jump scary kind of threats going on. It's all about her emotional and mental situation that she's existing in, and she's trying to figure out where is the safe place she can go in this world when all of this is going on. It's just a very moving, fascinating read, and it builds up to an ending that was surprisingly shocking, and it's incredibly well done. It's a brilliant horror story. It is just so good. Okay, so yeah, that's it. Those are the two books I read over this past month. They were great reads. I recommend both of them. If you've read either of the books that I talked about this month and you want to talk about them with me, please leave a note in the comments. I'd love to have a conversation about it. Also, if you have recommendations for horror novels, I am currently diving deep into horror novels. So if there's some of that you've enjoyed, I would love to hear about it. I might add it to my TBR list, which is already way too long, but that's okay. So in addition to talking about my books, such as in this video, every month I do a very long blog post about my culture consumption for the month. So that includes write-ups about the books that I've read and discussions of the movies, TV, gaming, and podcasts that I've listened to. So if you want to know about those, I'll put a link below. Yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you enjoyed this video, please like, maybe subscribe, maybe hit the bell so that you get notifications of when I've got a new video out. I'd really appreciate it. I'm still trying to kind of grow things around here. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much. I hope you guys are doing well with everything that's going on. Surviving and thriving, I hope. And I wish you all the best and have a good one.